This is our 13th lesson on fundamentals of the faith, and we're continuing our study of the books that should be in the Bible. This is called the canon of the scriptures. We will be looking at some books that are claimed by certain religious groups to be part of the scriptures, and we'll show that they're not. We'll be applying the principles that we've learned. And several denominations have accepted some books called the Apocrypha as canonical. By canonical, we mean that they're claiming it should be part of the Bible. This lesson will demonstrate that the books of the Apocrypha are not canonical, that they should not be in the Bible. This proves the fallibility of those denominations that have accepted these books. If we show that they should not be in the Bible, and they claim they should be, and they claim to be guided by God, then we'll demonstrate that they're not guided by God. They're not speaking authoritatively for God. We see the Roman Catholic Church get some of their rituals to cast out demons, for example, in the book called Tobit, in Tobit 3, verses 7 and 8, and then also in Tobit 6, verses 1 through 17. And that's where they get some of their materials, some of their rituals. It came to pass the same day that in Ecbatani, a city of Media, Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, was also reproached by her father's maids. This is from the book
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Okay. My phone was trying to think that I was using it. Okay, so sorry about that. In verse 8, because that she had been married to 7 husbands, whom Asmodeus, the evil spirit, had killed before they had lain with her. And dost thou not know, said they, that they have strangled thine husbands? Thou hast strangled thine husbands? Thou hast already 7 husbands, neither wast thou named after any of them. So was married 7 times, and the husbands have all been killed. This is a fabulous story, but anyhow, this is from this book. Just the nature of it, when you start reading it, you say it just doesn't read like the Bible. As they went on their journey, they came in the evening to the river Tigris. Of course, we have 2 rivers in that region of Babylonia, and Tigris and Euphrates. Tigris is to the east, and the Euphrates is on the west. And they lodged there, and when the young man went down to wash himself, a fish leaped out of the water, would have devoured him. And the angel said to him, take the fish, and the young man laid hold on the fish and drew it to land. So, to whom the angel said, open the fish and take the heart and the liver and the gall and put them up safely. So the young man did as the angel commanded him, and when he had roasted the fish, they did eat it. Then they both went on their way till they drew near to Ecbatani. Okay. Then the young man said to the angel, Brother Azarias, to what use is the heart and the liver and the gall and the fish? And he said to them, touching the heart and the liver, if the devil or an evil spirit trouble you, you must make a smoke thereof before the man or the woman, and the party shall be no more vexed. So you're going to cast out a demon. See, that's what that's all about. For the gall, it is good to anoint the man that hath whiteness in his eyes, and he shall be healed. So it's going to heal him of blindness, is what it's all about. When they would come near to Rages, the angel said unto the young man, Brother, today we shall lodge with Raguel, who is thy cousin. He also hath only one daughter named Sarah. I will speak for her, that she may be given to thee for a wife. For to thee doth the right of her appertain, seeing thou only art of her kindred. So this would be a levirate marriage. And the maid is fair and wise. Now, therefore, hear me. I will speak to her father, and when we return from wages, we will celebrate the marriage. For I know that Raguel cannot marry her to another according to the law of Moses, but he shall be guilty of death, because the right of inheritance doth rather appertain to thee rather than to another. So again, this is a levirate marriage it's talking about. And the young man answered the angel, I have heard, brother Azarias, this maid have been given to 7 men who have all died in the marriage chamber. And I'm the only son of my father, and I'm afraid lest I go into her that I die. As the other before, for a wicked spirit loveth her, which hurteth nobody, but those which come unto her. So this wicked spirit, this demon, just doesn't hurt anybody except those that come near to Sarah. See, wherefore I also fear lest I die, and my father's, my mother's had life, because of me to the grave with sorrow, for they have no other son to bury them. And the angel said unto him, dost thou not remember the precept? Let me go back to this, bury them. This was taking care of the parents when they get old. This burying probably meant to prepare them and take them up to the point of their death and bury them. So it was more than just taking them and burying them in the ground. It probably meant he took care of them. We see this in one of the, Jesus telling a man he wanted to go and bury his father. I think that was more than this, and that meant to take care of him when he got old, right? And perhaps with Jesus in the incident, this man had other family members that could do it. But anyhow, he had to put the Lord first. The angel said unto him, dost thou not remember the precepts which thy father gave thee, that thou shouldest marry a wife of thine own kindred? Before hear me, O my brother, for she shall be given to thee to wife, and make thou not reckoning of the evil spirit, for this same night shalt be given thee in marriage. And when thou shalt come into the marriage chamber, thou shalt take the ashes of perfume, shalt lay upon them some of the heart and the liver of the fish, shall make a smoke with it. And the devil shall smell it and flee away and never come again anymore. But when thou shalt come to her, rise up both of you and pray to God, which is merciful, who shall have pity on you and save you. Fear not, for she is appointed unto thee from the beginning. Thou shalt preserve her, and she shall go with thee. Moreover, I suppose that she shall bear thee children. Now, when Tobias had heard these things, he loved her, and his heart was effectually joined to her. So this is where they get some of their ritual for supposedly casting out demons. The Roman Catholic Church does. And we'll be looking at this book, and we see this. Second Maccabees, the book of Maccabees, there's first and second Maccabees. I think there's a third and fourth Maccabees that even Roman Catholics don't put in their Bible, okay? But also in second Maccabees 12:45, as also in that he perceived that there was great favor laid upon those that died godly. It was unholy and good thought, whereupon he made a reconciliation for the dead, that they might be delivered from sin. So this passage talks about being reconciled for the dead, reconciliation for the dead. This is one of the places that the Roman Catholics get the idea of praying people out of purgatory, making reconciliation for them, and praying for them, and paying, giving to the church, and helping to fill the coffers of the church. That's where they got this doctrine right here. But it contradicts Matthew 25, 1 and following, about what happens to the dead. All right. And Second Maccabees 1:13 contradicts Second Maccabees 9:19 through 29. For when the leader himself was in Persia and with him a great army, he fell in the temple of Nania. Now, this is Antiochus Epiphanes it's talking about. And there was a great army, and he fell in the temple of Nania, being deceived by the council of the priests of Nania. So that's where he died, in that temple. That's the claim. 2 Maccabees 1:13. But we go to 2 Maccabees 1:14, for Antiochus with his friends came to the place as though he would marry her, that he might receive great sums of money under the title of a dowry. When the priest of Nania had set them forth, he with a small company had entered into the compass of the temple. They shut the temple. When Antiochus was come in and opening a secret entrance of the temple, they cast stones and slew the leader, them that were with him, and hewed them to pieces, cutting off their heads, and they threw them forth. That's the claim. That's how Antiochus died, Antiochus Epiphanes. But when we read 2 Maccabees, same book, 9:19, into his very good subjects, the Jews, Antiochus, the king and ruler, with his much health and welfare and happiness. If you and your children are well, and if all matters go with you to your mind, we get very great thanks. As for me being infirm, but yet kindly remembering you, returning out of the place of Persia and being taken with a grievous disease, I thought it necessary to take care of the common good. This depicts Antiochus as being very kindly toward the Jews, which is totally contrary to the actual record of what happened. So this is contrary to it, but he's supposed to have already died in that temple of Nania. But now he's here, he's getting sick, he's got a great disease, grievous disease. Not distrusting my life, but having great hope to escape the sickness. But considering that my father also, at what time he led an army into the higher countries appointed who should reign over him. The end that if any contrary to expectation shall fall out, or any bad thing fighting shall be brought, they that were in the countries, knowing to whom the whole government was left, might not be troubled. Moreover, considering that neighboring princes and borders wait for opportunities and expect what shall be the event, I have appointed my son Antiochus king, whom I often recommended to many of you when I went into the higher provinces, and have written to him what I've joined here below. Again, I pray you, therefore, and request of you, remembering favors, both public and private, that you will, every man of you, continue to be faithful to me and to my son, for I trust that he will behave with moderation and humility, following my intention will be gracious unto you. Thus, the murderer and blasphemer, being grievously struck as himself had treated others, died a miserable death in a strange country among the mountains. But Philip was brought up from him, carried away his body, and out of fear for the son of Antiochus, went into Egypt to Ptolemy, Philometor. Now here, this claims he died in the mountains rather than at the temple of Nania. But the book has already told us he died at the temple of Nania. And there's no historical record as to actually how he died. And both of these are they contradict one another. And the temple of Nania was not in the mountains. And so the problem is it contradicts itself. It's self-contradictory, so automatically can't be scripture. Because that's one of the things. The Bible cannot contradict itself because it's from God. It is impossible for it to have errors. Apocrypha has factual errors. And let's look at Judas 1:1 and 2:4. In the 12th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, this is a translation of it. Went with the King James Version. Who reigned in Nineveh, the great city, in the days of Arphaxad, who reigned over the Medes and Ecbatani. Well, if you look at this, Nebuchadnezzar didn't reign in Nineveh, and it was in the days of Arphaxad, who was the grandson of Noah. It's just this is all mixed up. It's got two or three different people that only fit in the same time frame. And of course, Nebuchadnezzar didn't reign over the Medes in Ecbatani. So there's all kinds of factual errors in Judas 1:1. Judas 2:4, when he had ended his counsel, Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, and he was the king of the Babylonians, called Holofernes, the chief captain of his army, Holofernes, who was next unto him, and said unto him. Now Holofernes was a Persian general, not a Babylonian general. So he got his stuff all mixed up. Nebuchadnezzar ruled over the Babylonians in Babylon, not Nineveh, Assyria. Nineveh had already been destroyed that time, whenever Nebuchadnezzar was ruling. Again, he's got several factors. It'd be like me saying Hitler ruled over Germany during the American Revolution times, okay? And Winston Churchill was the leader of England at that time. That'd be pure foolishness, okay? And we got things all out of whack here, okay? It's just not straight. Several contradictions in this book of Judith. First Maccabees 1:6-7, contradicts historical accounts of the death of Alexander the Great. Now, this is talking about Alexander the Great. After these things, he fell down upon his bed and knew that he should die. He called his servants and nobles that were brought up with him from his youth, and he divided his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. And so this dividing his kingdoms while he's yet alive. There's some evidence from people who are skilled at forensic, and they looked at the descriptions of how he died. They think he was poisoned, but that's not, they can't tell for sure. First Maccabees 8:16 contradicts historical accounts of the nature of the rule of the Roman emperors. First Maccabees 8:16, and that they committed their government to one man every year to rule over all the country. And they all obey one, and there is no envy nor jealousy amongst them. That's talking about the Romans. That's a bunch of lies, because they had jealousy and they had envy among them. Most of the books of the Apocrypha do not claim to be inspired of God. In the prologue of Ecclesiasticus, a book called Ecclesiasticus, the author disclaims it. Here's the prologue. Before, let us entreat you to read it with favor and attention, to pardon us when we may seem to come short of some words which we have labored to interpret. So he actually disclaims inspiration, asks for pardon when he falls short. We don't see that ever happening with a man speaking of inspiration. In First Maccabees 4:46 and 9:27, confess that there was no prophet of Israel at the time the book was being written. Now, I want you to see this. And laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in the convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. So again, there's no prophet at this time to tell them what to do with these stones, to tell them what God wants them to do with them. Well, if the writer of First Maccabees is not a prophet, then he can't be written by inspiration. It takes a prophet to do that, and he's admitting that there's no prophet at this time. So that shows that First Maccabees is not written by inspiration of God. Clearly, it shows that. Chapter 9, verse 27, so was there a great affliction in Israel, the like whereof was not since the time that a prophet was not seen among them. So he's saying we had troubles, haven't seen any problem like that since the time the prophets. In other words, there's no prophet among them at this time. Again, two times he tells us in this book that there's no prophet among them at that time. Now, Second Maccabees, and this is the book of Second Maccabees now, implicitly disclaims inspiration. All these things, I say, being declared by Jason of Cyrene in 5 books. So Jason of Cyrene has told us all these things in 5 books that he wrote. We will say the abridged in 1 volume. So we have an abridged version. We have condensed it, what he wrote. So we took what he wrote and condensed it. That's all that's saying. That's telling us that he got all this information from a writer named Jason of Cyrene. Any questions so far? Now, even if these books were part of the scriptures, which we've shown that they're not, they would be part of the Old Testament, which was taken out of the way, Colossians 2:14. Having blotted out the bond of written ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and he had taken it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. So the law of Moses, and these books were written before the New Testament times, and they were written between the time of the close of the canon of the Old Testament, that is Malachi, the last of the Old Testament prophets, before the prophesying began in the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, in what I call the fourfold gospel. So these would still have been taken out of the way. Of course, there would be truths in them that might be eternal truths. But we've proven that some of the books, at least, are contradictory to one another, contradictory to the facts of history. And so some of these books we've laid out are clearly not God's word. If these books are proven not to be inspired, we've proven at least one of them, and we've proven several, I think, here in this, then the Roman Catholic Church is shown to be fallible. The following argument is offered as proof of this, their fallibility. Fallibility means they make mistakes. If the Roman Catholic Church accepts the 66 books that we accept, and the Apocrypha contradicts any of these 66 books, then the Apocrypha must not be inspired of God. First argument. If the Apocrypha is not inspired of God, then the Roman Catholic Church is fallible. Clearly it shows that a Roman Catholic Church, which claims to be speaking for God, speaking by authority from God, they have canonized these books, claim that they're part of the scriptures, and we've shown that they should not be in the scriptures, and we've shown they're fallible. So we have proven that they're fallible. They're not infallible. The Pope does not speak infallibly. Because of this, we've proven this. None of the books that are of the Apocrypha are canonical. Any denomination that accepts any of the books of the Apocrypha as canonical is fallible. They can't speak with authority from God to determine this. Can't be trusted. If they claim to be speaking infallibly and we show they're fallible, we know they make false claims. Actually, they're claiming to be spokesmen for God. They're claiming to actually be prophets. And they're not prophets because they have made mistakes in what they teach and in some of the edicts that they ordered, canonization supposed of these books. None of the books are canonical. Any denomination that accepts any of these books as canonical is fallible. Now, are there questions or comments? Okay.